Well, let's get started. This is the speaking test of International English Language Testing System, taking place on Saturday, the 4th of December at Aristotle Language and Research Center. The center number is AL367, and the candidate is Mr. Salashur, and the candidate number is 003400. The examiner is Farzad Mujarrad, and the examiner number is 434586. Hello and welcome.
Hi, thanks.
My name is Farzad Mujarrad. What is your full name, please?
Well, my name is Ali Reza Salashur, and I would appreciate if you call me Ali.
Okay. May I see your identification, please?
Yes, of course. Here you go.
Thank you. Well, would you please take it?
Yeah, of course.
Great. Now, in this part, I'd like to ask you some personal questions to get to know you better. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about where you live.
Well, I live in Ardabil, which is located in northeast of Iran, and it has this diverse climate that you can see, and its population is not that much high. Therefore, you can live without being disrupted by people during days and nights.
Wonderful. Which part of your country do most people live in?
Well, since the north of our country, as I said, is a diverse part of our country, and it has this wonderful views. Even we have this Captain Sea. It is located on the north side of our country. Therefore, people tend to live in this part of this our country, and it has its own benefits, its own pros and cons, and I, for one, like it here.
Wonderful. Tell me about the main industries there.
Well, you can find some different industrial companies, such as I can call, for example, metal industries, and we have some handicrafts that you can easily find it anywhere in our country, especially on the north side of Iran, due to the fact that people used to live in countrysides, so I think they've adapted themselves to make their own things, to live with.
Great. How easy is it to travel around your country?
Well, since Iran is a big country, and it is really difficult for you to travel by your own private car. Therefore, there are some suggestions for you to travel in my country. For example, you can go by bus, by plane, or you can use train stations, trains to travel from a city to another.
Wonderful. Has your country changed much since you were a child?
It has changed a lot. For example, I can say nowadays we have trains, subways, metros, that these kinds of transportations were not here when I was a child. So I think it has been developed, it has been upgraded, and also our government has been benefiting from these changes.
Very good. That brings us to the end of part one. And now let's move to the second part of the speaking test. Now I'm going to give you a topic, and I'd like you to think about for 1 to 2 minutes. Before you talk, you'll have 1 minute to think about what you are going to say. You can make notes if you wish. Here is your topic card, and also a piece of paper and pencil to think and take notes if you wish. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Now you have a minute to think and take notes. All right. Remember, you have 1 to 2 minutes for this. And don't worry if I stop you. I will let you know when the time is up. Could you please start speaking, please?
Yeah. Since the dawn of the smartphones, nowadays you can see multiple apps that have been introduced worldwide, and these days people tend to use these communicating apps as well as other apps, and by this I mean we have diverse options that you can choose whatever app you want to to meet your need. And today I want to talk about a special app that a friend of mine introduced it to me 4 years ago. It is WhatsApp. It has been developed in 2004, and my friend suggested to me when I was in first grade of high school. You know, that time I used this app to communicate with my friends as well as my relatives who live in other cities in our country, or friends of mine who live abroad. And nowadays I use it even for my university programs. Since the coronavirus lockdown, these apps have really helped people to get through the lockdown days, and to communicate with other people. And it has its own drawbacks. I can say, for example, all the time you have your phone on your hand that you want to check for new messages that you may receive, and it is some kind of distracting for you.
Thank you. Thank you. The time is up. Wonderful. And do you like to continue using this app in the future?
Well, yes, of course. I am really loyal to this company and its apps. It has other apps such as Instagram and Twitter, and also use them as well.
Fantabulous. This is the end of part 2. And now let's move on part 3 of the speaking test. In this part, I'm going to ask you some general questions following up the topic card that you talked about. Which phone apps is the most popular in your country?
There are several phone apps that are popular and most used by our people in our country. I can say Instagram is the most used communicating app in our country, and after that here comes WhatsApp, Telegram, and also TikTok have been trend these days.
Very good. Do you think parents should limit the time children spend on these apps?
I strongly believe in limiting children from using too much, from spending too much time on social media, especially on communicating apps. Uh, the reason is because they must be physically active as well as, being just sitting around, hanging out with their phones or laptops. And as I said, I really support this idea that parents should take care of their children and their child's use of commute
Very good.
apps. Yes.
Very good. Do you think people depend on phone apps too much?
Actually, the use of smartphones since the I think last decade has been really grown, and even you can see in every child's hand at least a tablet or a smartphone. And the reason is I think because the world is growing and therefore we must grow with it.
Great. Do you think some apps will help people to study?
Well, yes, since the coronavirus lockdown and universities were closed for about in Iran a month or two. After that, they introduced some domestic apps, and after that, and even beside that apps, some people used to work with apps like Skype, Google Meet, and these kinds of apps as well. Because I believe that the studying process must not never be hindered.
Very good. What kinds of apps do you have in your phone?
I have I have lots of different kinds of apps in my mobile phone. Um, I can say I definitely have Instagram, because on the uh, I'm not living on the moon. Of course, I must follow the flow like other people. And I also have Telegram, to catch up the news, and also I use TikTok sometimes.
Great. What are the drawbacks of having too many apps on your phone?
I think the most disadvantage of having too many apps on your smartphone is that they occupy space, and after that it comes the battery usage. Having too many applications on your smartphone may damage your battery's lifetime, and also it will definitely reduce its usage in the pass of the time.
Great. How much time do you spend on those apps?
I do spend a lot of time on social media, especially on Instagram, and I think I think I should consider it that I should lower it down, but it is really hard to stop it because they are really attractive. That when you enter this apps, it is like you enter a new world. So it is really hard for me to stopping using these apps.
Fabulous. Do you like to look for new apps or just keep using the old ones?
Um, well, I really appreciate the new apps that will be released in the future, and I will definitely use them, at least for one time, to see how they work. But I'm also person who will never let the applications that has used before down. So I will definitely go on using my old apps as well.
Very good. Do you use free apps or the ones that you need to pay for?
Since in our country you cannot pay apps online, because they are blocked in our country, therefore I just simply download it from Google Play, or if you have an iPhone mobile phones, you can download it from App Store. Some apps that are free.
Great, thank you. This is the end of IELTS speaking test, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.